When you're building yourself a foundation in German, one of the most important small words is weil. Weil means because, and just like in English, it is a fundamental particle that is used in a lot of situations, in a lot of sentences, and that's why it's important to learn it early on when we're learning German. Because a lot of language courses, they focus on teaching very short sentences because the idea is that short sentences are easier. So you just learn how to say, ich gehe zur Schule, or ich trinke Milch. But nobody actually talks in such short sentences, and speaking longer sentences is not necessarily more complicated. Many people may think it's more complicated, but it's not if you understand early on how these fundamental particles like weil work and how to use them to connect a sentence. So today I would like to talk about the word weil, how it works in sentences and how to use it. If you're new here, welcome to Learn German with Linguamers. My name is Alex Senoner. I have studied more than 10 languages and I make these videos to teach German based on my experience of how I have learned all these languages. So I have written down and printed out a few example sentences here that can help us to learn how to use weil. So let's look at some example sentences here. I'm using lesen, weil interessant. Read because interesting. And now I'm going to build up a sentence slowly with what I call the sentence expansion method, which means that I expand the sentence by gradually adding one new word so that it's easier for you to follow how this sentence is built. So we start with I lese, I read. Das Buch, the book. Ich lese dieses Buch, I read this book. Das Buch ist interessant. The book is interesting. And now if we use weil, so we want to say, I read this book because it is interesting. So after because, after weil, that's in linguistics called the subclause. And that one, which is das Buch ist interessant, when we use weil, the word order changes and the verb ist goes to the end of the sentence. So it becomes, ich lese dieses Buch, weil es interessant ist. This is very common with a lot of German particles that they change the word order in the subclause and the verb goes to the end. This may sound weird at first, but my experience with language learning is that it doesn't help to think that something is weird or not weird, or that something shouldn't be in this way or not. A language is the way it is. And you will make much more progress in the language if you don't judge the language, if you don't think this sounds weird, but if you just accept it the way it is. So with weil, the verb goes to the end. Let's look at some more examples. Here I have the example schauen, weil spannend. Schauen means to watch. Another word to watch in German is gucken, which is more of a northern German word, while schauen is more of a southern German word, which is where I come from. We start with du, you. Du schaust, you watch. Der Film, the film. Du schaust einen Film, you watch a film. Der Film ist spannend, the film is exciting. And now when we use weil, we want to say you watch a film because it is exciting. So ist spannend, the verb is ist, and so after weil that goes to the end. So it becomes du schaust einen Film, weil spannend ist. So I have now explained to you how the rule works so that you understand it. But in my experience, the best way to learn grammar is not to think about how the rule exactly works. That can work at the beginning, but at some point while you speak, especially if you speak fast, you cannot always think about what the rule is because you don't have time. And even in your native language, you're not always thinking about rules. So in my experience, the best way is to just repeat the sentences over and over again until it just sounds normal to you. Because that's the best way to learn grammar, to listen to it, to say it so many times until you just know that this is how you should say it, until it becomes normal. So language learning is, in a way, a form of drilling. You know, you should not think about it too much. You should just, in a way, drill it into to yourself, which doesn't sound nice because drilling sounds like military or so. But you can just go through these examples again and again, and then you can do different things like listen to a podcast, watch a video, and so on, where you are exposed to weil again and again until it becomes natural to you. Let's look at some other examples which I have written down here. This one is essen, weil lecker, eat because tasty. We start with ich esse, I eat. Ich esse einen Apfel, I eat an apple. Der Apfel ist lecker, the apple is tasty. There's also other ways of saying it. You can say der Apfel schmeckt gut oder schmeckt lecker, but in this case I'm just using der Apfel ist lecker. And now when we use weil, the verb goes to the end. The verb is ist, so it becomes ich esse einen Apfel, weil lecker ist. If you want to use the word schmecken, which is another way of saying that something tastes good, so lecker is an adjective, you say der Apfel ist lecker, while schmecken is a verb, so it would be der Apfel schmeckt, and so you would say ich esse einen Apfel, weil schmeckt, or weil mir schmeckt, because it tastes good to me. Okay, the next example here actually uses schmecken, so we have essen weil schmecken, eat because it tastes good. Here we have a Schweinshaxe, which is a very common German dish. It's a very traditional German dish, not necessarily eaten every day today, but it's very traditional. It's a pork leg, basically. Haxe means leg. It's another word for leg. The standard word for leg would be Bein, but there are certain dialects, especially Bavarian, where it's actually more common to use Haxe. And the Schweinshaxe is eaten with Kraut. Kraut is also a very common German dish. It's not only German, it's also eaten a lot in most of Central Europe, in Poland, Czech Republic, and so on. It's cabbage, and it's cabbage which I'm not an expert about this, but it's been treated in a way that it lasts longer, and that is traditionally a food that is eaten during winter, a vegetable that is prepared in a way so that it lasts throughout the winter and so can be eaten in winter. So let's look at the sentence. Du isst, you eat. Die Schweinshaxe, das Kraut. Sorry, I had a bit of a small mistake here. Du isst eine Schweinshaxe mit Kraut. You eat a Schweinshaxe with Kraut. Die Schweinshaxe mit Kraut schmeckt dir. You like, let's say, the Schweinshaxe mit Kraut. So with schmecken, we do usually use schmeckt dir or schmeckt mir. You can also say die Schweinshaxe mit Kraut schmeckt, but that's more like a neutral expression, like it just generally tastes good. But if you want to say I like it, then it would be schmeckt mir, or in this case schmeckt dir. So the subclause after weil is schmeckt, and the verb here schmeckt, so that one goes to the end. So the full sentence becomes du isst eine Schweinshaxe mit Kraut, weil sie dir schmeckt. So that's it for the lesson today. I hope you found this video useful. If you have any specific questions about German, any grammar points you would like to have explained, write them down in the comments and I'll try to make a video about that. Thank you so much for watching and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.